we're back. This is the SilmFilm script discussion season 1 episode, season 2. We're in season 2 now, episode 1.
So we were talking about while
during the break
mysteriously vanished. We were talking about a couple of different things with regards to the battle. The first thing we decided was that we probably wanted the whole battle sequence to really, really be close point of view on Celeborn. Not the least reason being that he's sort of youngish in this particular period. Like, I don't know how young is young.
I was thinking
late
in
teens.
what would appear to us to be like mid-teens, early to mid-teens.
Early teens.
Well, I would say early teens. Small enough for somebody to take an interest in protecting him specifically.
Right. Okay.
As we established that Elway does.
But then Marie was talking about problems with, like, do we really... Well, her particular personal issue with using Celeborn at all. And so, why don't you expound on that again?
Thanks. I was just saying that the problem with, from my point of view, of having Celeborn be our narrator and be at Cuivanen is that it creates this first-hand account of a fairly distant primordial mythic event. It can be a little tricky, but if we use some kind of voiceover at this point for him to add his adult perspective to it, it will make the scene seem so much more remote.
Yeah.
So it would create that distance of time.
It would take away some of the immediacy of it.
Right. And using too much voiceover is obviously a terrible, terrible idea. So you have to be very careful how and when you do it. But if he did a line at the very beginning, a line here, and a line towards the end, like, that's not really overdone, and it would still have that effect of the remoteness of what we're seeing. So
we don't have to do a disaster sequence where he's running through the woods avoiding falling trees. We don't have to do anything like that.
So, like, are we going to have fireballs and trees catching on fire or anything like that?
I think there shouldn't really be any like really, really close.
Because Sauron does attack Cuivanen in our battle sequence.
I know.
Well, he doesn't make it to Cuivanen specifically, and that's specifically a land battle. That's not involving the greater powers.
Right.
That's not involving any elemental power.
Keep them out.
I seem to recall that they were saying, like, that the orcs should be headed towards Cuivanen, but they're prevented from reaching it by the Ents, right? Is that
right? Not orcs specifically, but yes,
the
more land-based creatures,
werewolves or something.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, like, the threat, nothing should break through the tree line.
No, we don't see anything actually happen.
Yeah, like there could be fire in the forest close to, but we should get the impression that danger is very close at hand, but they don't ever actually see much of anything firsthand.
Adalvaro says the immediate disaster at Cuivanen should be limited to earthquakes, storms, lights of the horizon, lightning. Fire in the sky. I mean, you can see something of that nature.
The forest around Cuivanen should definitely kind of be on fire, and, like, horrible sounds coming from the forest
across the lake, maybe. Like, if there's
on the other side of the lake, or
on the other side of the lake, you should see trees on fire.
Yeah, because I think we established that at least Gothmog himself, like, some of the Balrogs, the surviving Balrogs are there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
That's one of the reasons why they survived.
Yeah. So if you have Balrogs, you can catch things on fire pretty easily.
Yeah. Okay.
But at this point we've already seen, like, that. From the, like, I think Orome would be a good candidate for somebody to actually be leading, an army events, or near Cuivanen.
Well, that's what. Yeah,
but we've already seen it, right? That was all season 1, right? We saw all of that stuff in season 1. So, from this perspective, like, basically what I want for this scene is this is a new perspective on something that we've already seen. And it's much more remote and mysterious and unexplained.
Right.
So I mean, basically, you're making your viewer feel smart. Like we should have cues of action from things that actually happened in the action sequence from the previous season. Sound cues or visual flashes or whatever it happens to be, special effects that we can point to and say, oh, I know what part of the fight this comes from.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We can have to start off. So we would start off with kind of like an earthquakey kind of thing going on. We can have storms, not storms necessarily, but lightning.
Yeah.
Taking place toward like earthquakes and lightning and stuff like that, and wind. We should get a lot of at the beginning.
Right.
What we're going to see that move into is we can actually kind of we can kind of telegraph the arrival of Eonwë at the battle in some way, some sort of massive like explosion or something like that. Yeah. That like that, just like one thing in particular that's extremely loud and intense. What's going to happen from that? There's going to be kind of a time period where it kind of slows down.
Can we see realistically? Would we be able to see like the mountains of Utumno? Like, would it be visible on the horizon
from there? We could certainly, they're pretty far from there. What we can do is have the battle seem to die down. Things seem to slow down, and then
it gets closer.
They can actually hear sounds from the battle that's just over the ridge on the other side of the lake.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're going to hear monstrous screams and roars, and the forest lights up in flames.
Yeah,
and that's going to be really close. It's not as elementally terrifying, but it's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that should give us our timing and our perspective, and the lull should allow for some changed ideas of what's happening as to whether or not the world's actually ending, and then ramp up the fear when it gets close.
I think it would be kind of great if there's sort of a general like, is it over? And then people start, so what exactly was that? And then they're interrupted by the sound of imminent battle.
What might be interesting to kind of give us a little bit of action going on for them is the Vanguard getting everybody to evacuate to their little island.
Yeah.
And having like the boats going back and forth, ferrying people across to protect each other. And when it's all over, have them have they realize that they've survived, everything's going to be okay. Maybe it starts to rain, that puts out the fire, so there's the threat of fire is gone.
Right. And
have them lift up a song, like a joyful kind of song, a happy song, not necessarily happy, but they're happy.
We're still alive.
Yeah. And that's the song that Orome joins in, sitting on Nahar across the shore.
So he didn't do so well with their morning song, but he's doing better with their...
Right.
Okay.
And that's when...
And that's how we...
Ingwe goes out. Really? And we see Ingwe get, or a Vanguard delegation of some sort with Ingwe at the head, getting into the boat to go out to him.
See, everything is fine. The giant rider guy is a good guy.
He's smaller now. See?
Yeah. And that makes it up to the elves to go greet him.
Yeah.
That's the part of that I like, is that the first time he came crashing out of the woods and everyone was like, whoa, hey, what do we do about this? Now they see him on the shore and he's kind of like joining in their song, singing with him, like, see guys, I'm here for you. Yeah. And it's up to the elves to come to him if they want to. Mm-hmm. So he's not being as forceful. Yeah. I mean, he's still just as intimidating, I'm sure. But
Karita has to acquire us in the next 20 minutes. I think we're winding it down. We're almost there.
Because so the timeline works for me because they've already decided what to do. Well, no, wait. How does that work then? Because they still have after the training, they still have to have the debate about what they're going to do, right?
We're not going to show a debate of the Valar until this next episode.
Right.
But this moment in the timeline is after that discussion, but we're going to go back to it.
So
how long are they singing hymns for? Basically, like what is the battle ends like the Orome is victorious or whatever in the forests. But he can't then immediately come unless we're going to do the other thing that we decided we weren't going to do, where he comes back a third time.
Of course he can do that.
I'm obviously okay with 3 visits, where this meeting with Ingwe, he says, great, I'm so glad you guys survived. I'm going to go talk to the other ones. And they're like, what do you mean other ones? Yeah, okay. And he's like, there's more of me.
Yeah.
I definitely feel it's more dramatic if we end this episode without them actually talking.
No. We have to get to the invitation, or we have to present the invitation, and then the next episode will be dealing with what they decide to do. Because
I don't know, because I feel like because otherwise, how do you have that invitation express that there's some uncertainty about what to do with it without it being another long, drawn-out conversation, which we can totally have, but to have it after that huge sequence, that huge set piece, I feel like is going to be a little anticlimactic. If we see them approaching him, or even just see him saying, I have something important to tell you.
The battle is the middle of the episode. Like, that's not the end.
Then what would you say is the climax of the episode?
The climax of the episode is the invitation itself.
Mm-hmm. So, but then if you make that the climax, then, and the denouement, however you pronounce that word, denouement, that word, is us going back into the frame to, think about what we've learned today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have to do that anyway, right? We said we were going to bookend it.
Yes. I mean, I'm totally. Yeah. No. I'm good with that. What I'm saying is, if we just end on the invitation, there's no question whatsoever that they're going to go with it, because we know he's the good guy.
Yeah.
Okay, we already know he's the good guy. So in our minds, there's no question. Of course, they're going to go with it. Okay, the viewer already knows that Orome is the good guy. The elves don't know it, but if we see them approaching him, and he gives them the invitation, and then that's it.
It does feel a little inevitable, doesn't it?
Right.
Well, I mean,
if you make it vague what he's going to tell them, or
then you don't really get, like, there's nothing. It's just like, ooh, what's going to happen next? You're not actually setting up for the next episode.
That's exactly what you're doing. That's what's going to happen next that's precisely what that is.
Yeah, but just knowing that something is going to happen, and we don't know what it is, like, that's not really
telling. I think that the midpoint is in our discussion. The midpoint of the episode has moved from the battle itself to the conversation.
Battle disaster is the midpoint of the event. Is the climax. We're missing a third act. Yeah, see, and this is
we've moved. I mean, what we've done is we've kind of moved the midpoint forward in the episode.
Yeah.
Rather than the battle being that, the battle is our Act 3 at this point.
Yeah, and I'm not. Well, first of all, I don't think we have enough for the battle to be an Act 3. But Karita is saying, in order to make the invitation dramatic, we need a good setup, and That's what I'm saying. We need to actually, rather than have him go, oh, and now I'm going to tell you something. But next week, find out.
I have two thoughts on this.
Go ahead, Maria.
First, the invitation, if it's issued now, makes the entire debate of what the Valar are going to do kind of moot because we know it's going to end with an invitation. So that might ruin episode 2 a little bit. My second concern is that for Orome to meet these people for the very first time, well, second time, but for his first real meeting, his first exchange of words with them, to be, hey, come with me. It doesn't work. That's weird.
Yeah.
It would make much more sense to me if his reaction was, wow, who are you? I'd like to get to know you. And the elves invite him back into their little community and he joins their community temporarily. I mean, he gets a tour. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that make a lot more sense than come with me, guys?
So do you want to just leave the invitation for episode 2 altogether then?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm thinking that too. Because the conversation of the Valar is the setup for the invite, which is kind of what Korea was getting at, I think.
Okay. So then, what actually because I'm telling you, we don't have enough for an hour.
I know. I don't know what's gonna. I don't know what Orome meets the elves looks like, and I'm having trouble thinking of what his tour of the village is gonna. Me.
Were you?
No one got hurt in the battle, so he doesn't need to go heal or fix anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no drama. It's
let's have. Well, that's the problem is that we can't. Yeah, it can't necessarily.
Where you ended the episode, Nick, is a commercial break, at best.
Well, I don't know about that, but we can put something in there. We can definitely show.
We need to show them getting to know Orome specifically.
But I'm telling you, that's a drag on the tail end of this episode. I'm telling you, you can make there be because what you're doing is you come off of this crazy intense sequence and into here's this guy, we go talk to him, he comes out and hangs out for us for a while. Isn't this great? For what, 10 minutes, 20 minutes? How much of this is
hopefully not more than 10?
Continuously great.
Plus, you're going to go back to the frame to put a lot of this stuff in perspective, right? So don't forget we still have frames.
I'm telling you, that's gonna wrap up in about 5 minutes tops.
Okay.
What you could do is you can have a crisis of will on the shore of the island. They've got to be in terror of awe of him. That's what they've got to incorporate. But that's kind of exactly where I'm going at.
We're doing that.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly where I'm going with this.
Is that
right? Before, the moment before they get on the boat to go to meet him, Ingwe is leading this, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody else is basically like, no, what? Are you crazy? Did you not see what just happened? This guy showed up, then all this stuff happened. Now you want to go talk to him?
And he's reiterating his position. He's like, well, I told you, this is all part of the plan, right? This is all this is all how it's supposed to go.
And I think that he invites Elway specifically. Maybe our 3 ambassadors
are on the same
boat.
The
ones. Right. He gets them. Maybe that's the crisis. Is he convinces them to overcome their fear.
Who's going to go with me? I'm going. Who's going with me?
Yeah, there's got to be someone trying to stop him. I think that Elway is trying to stop him.
Yeah. And he's like, no, you need to come with me and check this out.
Mm-hmm.
And that
you'll see. I promise, you'll see. You of all people.
Yeah. Elway, you're always the one who wants to see what's over the next hill, what's over what's on the other side of the lake, what's on the next horizon. Don't you want to know where this is going? Don't you want to know what's on the other side of this?
Elf up.
Oh man.
I think there should be a pretty large contingent of just Noldor and Teleri, like
resistance.
Elway is like the mouthpiece for them, but there's a lot of people who are like, basically they're interrupted in their singing. Like the singing stops because they've realized that Orome is singing to them from the far shore, right? And it should be the western shore because of course it is. And then so everybody kind of stops and is like, now what do we do, right? And then they start arguing amongst themselves about what they're going to do. Yeah. So actually, I think you're right, Nick.
I think
getting on the boat, sailing, or
I think that Ingwe immediately goes down to the boat. I think this conversation is taking place rolling. No. I think that if we make it a dynamic conversation, that it's going to be more visually interesting. Okay, and he's like, they're trying to stop him. He takes a few steps. They try to stop him. They argue with him. He refutes their argument, moves past them. He gets another few steps. They stop him again.
Yeah.
And the final confrontation, and I do think that Elway's curiosity is able to overcome his.
He gets on board with it because he's actually really curious.
We're gonna see Elway walk into a clearing, and there's a mysterious being in the clearing, and his reaction is to walk up to her and take her hand. That's gonna happen later. Yeah. So he has the bravery to do this.
I do agree that it's not 15 minutes of TV.
Well, I mean, you've kind of distilled it down to like the character or the actual, like, you know, a couple of beats in a scene. But this is, I mean, there should be an actual like discussion rather than like, you know, being in a trance and Ingwe is walking towards the boats and everyone magically figures out what he's doing. Like they have to talk about it. They need to say, look, he's here again. What does this mean? Like what is all this? They need to process what just happened. They have no idea what just happened. Right. They need to put that in the context of, and now there's this giant glowing horse rider guy over there. Like they have to have this is a theological, philosophical debate, right? And it doesn't have to be 15 minutes of debate necessarily, but like they need to start talking, and then Ingwe's reaction is like, look, we're not gonna solve this by arguing on this shore. We have to go over there and talk to the giant glowing rider person to find out what's going on. And I, in my heart, believe that he's a good guy. That's his angle.
So, he's glowing. Clearly, he's fine.
When has anything glowing ever been dangerous, right? That's not so.
The Vanyar are going to be the more mystically inclined of the elves in the end. So Ingwe should be showing that here. That I know this is right.
Yeah, he's willing to put it on faith.
That's kind of exactly what I was thinking.
Yes, I know. That was the joke of Tom Barton. That was the joke.
I work in nuclear safety. Glowing is generally bad. Yes, that's kind of exactly what ran through my head.
Exactly. Yeah, Marie, you're absolutely right. Like Ingwe in particular and the Vanyar in general are very hopeful about this development. Right, the world didn't end. And now there's a giant glowing man on the other side of the lake. That's wonderful, right? This could not be better, right? And this is exactly what we were hoping for.
We should see our Avari representative basically telling Ingwe, if you go across there, you are going to die.
Yeah. Like this should be a precursor to the big "what are we going to do" debate.
Right.
About going.
Yeah, we need to set up that like
it just needs to be in. It just needs to be in simpler terms.
Avari specifically.
Yeah.
Especially are like no.
Yep.
Were you watching? Did you not?
I didn't like this guy when he showed up the first time. I like him less now, and there's absolutely no way I'm getting on a boat island to go to his house. Right? That's the Avari perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I do. No, I agree. This is This is the climax of the third act.
I'm pretty sure this will take at least 10 minutes. Because they have a lot to argue about. They need to argue for.
At least they have something to do. The getting on the boat and going across the lake is a very clear end to this. So I'm glad there's that at least.
Yeah, Ingwe's solution to the, because basically the argument kind of goes around in circles for a couple of minutes, and then you have your dramatic moment where Ingwe's like, no, forget that, I'm getting on a boat, and then everybody's like, oh, let's not be hasty. Right, and then he's like, "No, I'm getting on this boat now." And then you have
Varno was asking what's Finwë doing in all of this, and actually I'm kind of curious as to what his position is as well. Now, what he could actually be the tipping point for Elwë. He could actually it could be him and Elwë standing there
to his sense of adventure.
That yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, Finwë's passion, his passionate, his ability to speak passionately and convincingly.
Yep. He's the one. It's not Ingwe.
He's the one who said that's perfect. You're right. Right. Elwë has grabbed Ingwe by the arm and said, "I'm not letting you go over there."
Yeah.
And Finwë pops up out of nowhere, and he's the one who says, "Aren't you the one that always wants to know what's over the next hill, what's around the next tree, what's over that river?"
Yeah.
Okay.
That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. And he doesn't really say anything up until that point.
Okay. Yeah. I like the way this scene is playing out. I just
because it very, very clearly establishes the order in which the elves go. Right. It's the Vanguard first, it's the Noldor second, and it's the Teleri third. And it just, the fact that Elwë has to be dragged, basically kicking and screaming by Finwë is perfect.
I grew up on an island out in Varno, so
on a boat. So, can anybody else hear the clanging outside?
No, I'm too busy hearing people screaming in terror.
What is going on at your house?
My wife is watching Criminal Minds. Okay, right. So to quickly go through what we've got here. All right, to kind of sum up, because it's getting really late now. We've been going for 3 hours now. That I hear.
Whose house is that at?
Sorry.
It's the War of the Powers.
It's
I mean, I'm in Baltimore and I don't have that outside my window.
it's some other Chinese something or other holiday. Right, that's basically what our battle is going to be like. That's
okay. So to quickly sum up, we've got the flashback to the kidnapping of Celebrian. We've got the conversation between Arwen and Celeborn, dealing with the nature of the shadow, and he's not going to just be like, he's not going to just be like, well, the shadow has always been with us, and go into the story. There's going to be some conversation. Okay? Then we're going to go from there into Celeborn lying on the beach, sipping something strong. Never mind.
He's a child.
Lying on the beach as a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, something-year-old. He's lying peacefully. The dark hunter attacks. Elwë grabs him, drags him into the woods. He's safe. They survive. Council of the Eldar, not the Eldar, the Quendi. Council of the Quendi. We go through the different viewpoints there. Okay, it devolves into yellow. We get more we get some shots of daily elvish life, and we get the memorial. During the memorial, Orme comes in, breaks it up. Okay, this is kind of where it takes it. We all that before that was all Act 1. Act 2 is now beginning.